May is Mental Health Awareness Month, a time that aims to reduce the stigma surrounding mental illness. And all this week in the noon hour, we'll be talking about ways to help your mental health and the mental health of those around you. Today, we are talking about mental health and veterans. And in the latest cabinet meeting, we wanted to highlight this exchange between President Donald Trump and Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins discussing suicide among veterans.
How are you doing with the suicide rates?
We're getting, it's tough, Mr. President. That's something we're looking at. This is something that we've had $588 million has been spent over the last 4 or 5 years to be prevention, and yet the numbers stayed at 17 or 21, wherever you want to have it. We're now opening that back up, taking in nonprofits. We're bringing in others who have things that are actually looking at. I worked with Secretary Kennedy and others on the idea of we're opening up the possibility of psychedelic treatment and others that give us an opportunity. We got to research it, make sure it's good, but it's opening up that possibility.
Exploring psychedelic treatment. Matthew "Whiz" Buckley is a former Top Gun Navy pilot who started the foundation No Fallen Heroes to help veterans dealing with PTSD. Whiz, thank you for joining us today. You are a veteran who has been open about suffering from PTSD and have been very vocal about how psychedelics helped you. Can you tell us a little bit about what are we talking about when we say psychedelics and how did they help you?
Well, Patrick, thank you for having me. And let me just say, when you play that clip, you know, the hair on my arm stands up. I was rolling on the floor 2 weeks ago when that happened. Just absolutely incredible that the VA secretary used the word psychedelics, and even that the president asked about veteran suicide. I'm blown away. You know, the war on drugs and President Nixon, they did a pretty good job on the American people. You say the word psychedelics and people's heads kind of turn sideways. They're thinking of hippies wearing drug rugs and mala beads. Well, guess what? This psychedelic revolution this time around is being led by veterans, former Navy fighter pilots. 4 years ago this month, Patrick, I went down to Mexico with Marcus Luttrell, the lone survivor, if you've seen the movie or read the book, and a couple other veterans. Why do we go to Mexico from San Diego? Because if we do this in San Diego, it's a felony. If you hop in a car and you drive an hour south in northern Mexico to a clinic, it could potentially save and change your life. So if the word psychedelic makes you turn your head sideways, I have news for you. It ain't your father and mother's psychedelics.
Why do you think that they can be more effective than traditional treatment? You know, you think about all the kind of medications that are out there. But you know, psychedelics can be so basic. So how can it be that they can actually be better than some of the most modern medicine there is?
That's a great question, Patrick. And let me be brutally clear. There's no money in healing, right? So pharmaceutical companies need customers. These medicines that we're talking about, they have been used for thousands and thousands of years. I choose to use the word God. God put this stuff on this planet for us to heal. And the medicine I sat with, ibogaine, has an incredible addiction-interrupting property. Not proud to say I was a drinker, Patrick, and I don't think you can be a good drinker. I was a bad drinker. Up to a year after sitting with a single dose of ibogaine, if I looked at or even smelled alcohol, it made me physically ill. So these medicines have the potential to heal a ton of problems. I helped a Navy SEAL who was a breacher, you know, close to the doors and explosions. He showed me his brain scans from the VA, and they were dark and gray and black, and about 3 months after a single dose of ibogaine, they were completely white. So, Patrick, years ago, you know, before the Second World War, they discovered penicillin, and penicillin saved millions of lives during World War II. It wasn't until the 60s that they figured out how it saved lives. So a lot of the lab coats and the beakers and the 500-pound heads are really trying to dig in to the how these work. I'm here to tell you firsthand, and the nearly 75 folks we've helped heal through the No Fallen Heroes Foundation, it's been transformative.
Can you tell me about talking to Secretary Collins about this at the VA? Obviously, he sounds like he's open to psychedelics as a form of treatment. Is that more than lip service, do you think? People say a lot of things in this town. Do you think that there is anything standing in the way, some sort of regulation or hurdle that would need to be moved to make this happen?
Patrick, I'm going to write you a check after this because, man, you just teed that one up. I stopped going to D.C. about 3 years ago. Why? It really is a swamp. A Republican congressman who shall remain nameless behind closed doors looked me dead in the eyes, and he said, Whiz, I love what you're doing. And I was like, okay, great. And he said, well, you're going to have a problem with the big pharma and the alcohol and tobacco folks. And I was done. Never went back to D.C. until 3 weeks ago, I had a calendar reminder on my phone, the 100-day point of this administration. I said if I didn't hear anything about psychedelics, I was going to take a flamethrower. And I did. Guess what happened? The VA secretary answered my tweet, my flamethrower tweet, and said, hey, Whiz, we're trying. And then he sent me a direct message. And I said, Mr. Secretary, I'll be in D.C. next week. And he said, stop by. I want to talk to you. So it's words for now, Patrick, but these are words that I have not heard out of a president. I've never heard a sitting president ask about veteran suicide, and I never heard a sitting Secretary of the Veterans Affairs mention the words psychedelics. So we've moved the ball up the field a little bit, but man, we have a lot more to do. 17, 22, as high as 44 veterans might check out by their own hand today. Patrick, and I hate putting this out to the universe, could you imagine, God forbid, 17, 22, 44 children, not once a year, were being shot every day in a school? This country would flip out, and we would act immediately. But since it's the veteran community, we get a little bit of a, hey, thank you for your service, and let's go on to the next thing. So, again, these are words. I'm going to hold their feet to the fire, and the secretary told me that, too. He said, Whiz, you stay on me, and we're going to try and get this done.
Those numbers really are shocking when we talk about how many military veterans die by suicide. And it is actually a topic, as you know, that has been discussed for many years across administrations. But yet those numbers don't seem to be coming down meaningfully. It is interesting. Maybe this is a new approach that might work.
Well, Patrick, if throwing money and bodies at problems worked, our government, we'd be living in a utopia. That's just simply not the case. Good on the secretary for saying, hey, clearly what we're doing is not working, even though we're throwing money at it. One more time, Patrick, I'm going to remind you, my brother, these medicines have been used for thousands and thousands of years. And here we are in the West kind of pretending like, hey, wow, we just found this cool stuff that might work. A lot of cultures and countries around the world are looking at us saying, welcome to the party. We've known about the healing capabilities of these medicines for a long time. Where have you been?
It's tough, though, because they are still a Schedule I narcotic, aren't they? So's marijuana, even though so many states have moved to approve that. So the federal government doesn't exactly seem open to alternative forms of medicine.
But Patrick, I have a chart, and people can look it up on the internet. It's the harm to you and harm to others scale. On one side is alcohol, tobacco, crack cocaine, all sorts of stuff like that. All the way on the right, about that big on the pie chart, is psilocybin, magic mushrooms. Over on the left, alcohol, tobacco, 100% legal. Psilocybin, a felony. And I just told you why it's most likely a felony in this country. The definition of a Schedule I drug, Patrick, is no therapeutic use and a high risk of addiction. I just defined alcohol and cigarettes, my friend. Those are legal. These medicines are not. And I told you why, in my opinion, that's the case. So the president, he's been, like executive orders coming off the printer. He could take some leadership right now on this issue and start moving the needle. So I'm going to hold their feet to the fire, Patrick. But you all bringing this issue up on your program is definitely helping raise the narrative.
All right. Well, Matthew Whiz Buckley, thank you, Whiz, for joining us today. Always appreciate it.